Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. I am Jenny and today I have a little pocket of time, so I am going to do a project that is going to pay big huge dividends come this summer. Here we are standing in front of the flower bed. I call it the oak leaf hydrangea bed, the Gatsby Gal bed, because it has the Gatsby Gal in it, and it is right here. The driveway is right in front of me, the cottage garden's right here, and then of course the pathway to the patio is right behind me. Just giving you some perspective, the cottage garden, there's the forest pansy, so kind of that way you kind of know where we are. What we're going to do today is we are going to replace the Invincibelle Ruby hydrangeas with Limelight Prime. We're going to take out Ruby, put Prime in, because I realized last summer that this bed is way too hot for the rubies. So the Invincibelle Rubies are rated to a zone 8, and they do say full sun, but we're a 7B, of course, here in North Carolina, and this bed is sun up to sundown, so it gets every single ounce of daylight that there is in the day. It's just way too much for the rubies. We have rubies planted down on the creek bank where we had done the hedge anyway with all sorts of other things, and it gets a break in the afternoon sun. Those did magnificently well. So what I'm going to do is take these 5 rubies and we're going to go take them down and add them to that bed on the other end. So that way I'll have rubies on both sides of the bed to kind of anchor the bed, and they'll be much, much happier there. They just got fried. So if we have found that with the Invincibelle series, it doesn't matter which one it is, if it's Limetta, the Ruby, so forth and so on, whatever that Invincibelle, those arborescents, for us in North Carolina, they really need a break from the afternoon sun. So if you have part of the Invincibelle series or an arborescent, hydrangea arborescence, and you find that it is struggling, try moving it. Move it to where it gets a break in that afternoon sun, and I'm sure it will bounce back. These were on irrigation, they struggled. Those down there, not on irrigation, and they flourished. So it's all about sun. Prime is going to go in here. Prime is going to be a little bit bigger than the rubies, which is fine because it will give me a nice backdrop to this bed height. The primes, of course, are relatively new to the market. I like to say that they're the teenager of the Limelight family. You've got Little Lime, which is kind of the child, the smallest one. Then you have Limelight Prime, the middle one, and then you got the big daddy, Limelight. So we will put all the information up there for the Limelights, but basically the Limelight Primes are taller than they are wide. So they're a little bit more narrow, which is really gonna work well in this bed. We've got 5 of them going in. Wherever the rubies are, I'm taking them out and just gonna plop a Limelight Prime right in its place. So let me just flip the camera around and give you a kind of a whole perspective of this space. Here we have the bed that I'm talking about, and where you can see the grasses over here by the Kubota, this is where they are. And of course right now they are dormant and they are sticks, and they very much blend in to the bed. But you can kind of see we've got, let me get my finger going here, we've got 1, 2, and then they wrap around on the side of where the Kubota is. Again, we're just going to plop them out, dig them up, put them in the back of the Kubota, get the primes in here. When I was getting ready for this video and trying to think about what I was going to do, I was like, oh, well, I can go ahead and trim back my Apache rose grass, and I can do this, and I'm going to need to weed, you know, and all the other things that are popping up into my brain. But I don't know if you are like me. When I get in the garden, I can get really distracted and just be like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then this, and then sometimes I have to tell myself, Jenny, focus. What is the task at hand for today? The task at hand for today is to take out the rubies and put in the primes. If you have kids in your life, you've probably read the book, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. That can be me in the garden. I can be like, oh, well, we're going to work in here, so we're going to prune back the grasses. Oh, you know what? We need to do this. Let's do this. And then we go do this. Oh, we're going to do that. And then by the end of the day, I'm like, okay, but did you really get accomplished what you said you were going to? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Today, I'm going to be focused. Yes, there are weeds in here that need to be pulled. Maintenance needs to be done in this bed. I've got lots of fun plans on adding new perennials to this bed to really fill it in. But today, my sole focus, take out the rubies, put in the primes, and move the rubies back down there. So that is what I'm going to try to stick to. If you are in North Carolina or you're in a warmer zone, this is the perfect time to go ahead and transplant, or move any kind of your shrubs. Hydrangeas, great time to do this because one, they're still dormant. We are getting more consistent or have consistent rain rather. Like it's supposed to rain, and like you can tell by the weather, it's going to be raining really soon. The temperatures are cool, the roots have time to get established. So if you need to move some shrubs or some perennials, now is a fantastic time to do it. So maybe this will be a help, a little tutorial on how to do it. Yeah, so we're gonna get digging and we're gonna dig up these 5 rubies, throw them into the back of the Kubota, get out the primes and put them down. I have placed all of the Limelight primes beside of the rubies. It's really simple. It's not, it's not rocket science here. So we're just gonna get in and we're gonna pull back as much mulch as we can because I don't wanna mess that up. Of course, I've got my handy dandy shovel here. There is irrigation lines in here, but it's not hooked up. I don't think it's gonna be too terribly much in the way for right now. So we're gonna get it out of the way if we need to and get these babies up. Obviously, when you're digging up your plants, whether it's a perennial or a shrub, you want to try to get as much of the root ball as you possibly can. These were planted like in the dead of summer, so they shouldn't have an extensive root system, and yeah, basically it still looks like a 3-gallon container in here. So go around your edges, and I can see right here. Right, so you can tell that sweet little ruby did not get very rooted yet. They were just on the struggle bus, so it's a good thing we are taking them out because, yeah, it looks like it just came out of a 3-gallon container, but I do see new growth popping out. She has little buds on her, so she is very much alive, and arborescents bloom on new growth. So once I get her in her new home, I will give her a little light pruning. So 1 down, 4 to go. All 5 of the rubies are out, and so now I'm going to put the primes in. I don't think I'm going to have to, I have my auger, but I'm not really going to use my auger because obviously I still have a hole. We have amended this really well in the past with lots of land and sea, pine bark fines, and so forth. So I'm not going to add stuff to this today. It's really beautiful and rich, but of course I am going to use my biotone fertilizer because that is for healthy root growth. So I want to get these nice and established. Now, talking about, like, if you give the mouse a cookie and getting distracted and doing other things, if I wanted to this would be a great time to go ahead and fertilize the hydrangeas also for like top foliage growth, because here at the end of February, beginning of March, this is a great time to go ahead and add your slow release fertilizer. With hydrangeas, rose tone is actually a really good fertilizer because these have the same nutritional requirements as roses. They are woody, ornamental, like flowering shrubs. So you can use rose tone. If you don't have rose tone, plant tone would be, a great thing to do. Plant tone, I say if you only have one fertilizer to use plant tone. But again, I'm going to try to stay focused, because if I start fertilizing my hydrangeas, then I'm going to want to fertilize all my other perennials and so forth, and just one thing leads to another. I'm going to come back very shortly within the next week or two and do complete cleanup, fertilize everything. If mulch needs to be added back somewhere, I will shore that up before everybody really wakes up before spring hits, because spring is really close. The hydrangeas are putting some little buds on, so it is getting close. If you have the opportunity to go ahead and fertilize your hydrangeas and your other perennials, go for it. I'm just not doing it today because I'm trying to stay focused. One more thing I'll add about the Limelight Primes is, of course, these are panicles, and so they bloom on new growth, just like the arborescents do, the rubies. You can tell that it's already been pruned. These are ones that we are growing ourselves, and our folks had already gone ahead and pruned them for the season, so I am not going to come in here and prune them again. With your panicle hydrangeas, only prune them back by 1/4 to 1/3. Do not prune them back any more than that, because if you do more than that, yes, they will bloom, and yes, they will flower because they put on that new growth, but that is how you get floppy stems. A lot of times people will complain that their limelights or whatever kind of panicle hydrangea is that when it rains, the blooms are so heavy and they flop over and they just have real floppy hydrangeas. Odds are either you're not pruning it or you're pruning it too much. So only 1/3 of the total plant size. So let's say, this year it grows a good 2 feet. Then next year, maybe I only trim it to here. So there you go. 1/3 to 1/4, no more. Now, we've got one done, 4 more to go. It's pretty simple. Dig my hole out a little bit more, throw some biotone in, plant my hydrangeas. You'll notice that, of course, because we have that clay soil, again, I'm planting them a little high, and I keep the native soil off the top of the root ball. I don't want these sunk down into the ground where water can pool around the crown of the plant, because that could cause it rot. For us, that's going to happen more so in the winter than it is in the summer. So yeah, here we go, 4 more. all 5 Limelight Primes are planted, and I am excited to see how they are going to grow and develop both this season and in the seasons to come. Now, one of the reasons, I chose them for a lot of reasons, but Prime, it is going to be, I had to get my little tag out here. So that's a great tip. If you have your plant tag, open it up. It'll tell you everything you need to know. They are going to be 4 to 6 feet tall and 4 to 5 wide. The great thing about panicle hydrangeas is because they bloom on new growth, if you need to keep them within a certain size, you can do that easily. You can just come in here, especially like if they're already blooming, and strategically cut your blooms, take them inside, make a gorgeous vase out of it, but that's a way to kind of keep it in check even during the growing season. Don't be afraid to prune your hydrangeas that bloom on new growth during the growing season, because we've actually found, especially with any of the panicle hydrangeas, is if you are kind of on a regular basis coming and clipping the blooms off of them, don't just throw them away, make a bouquet, give it to somebody. More than likely, you're going to get another flush of blooms in the late summer, early fall. So that's one way to keep things fresh, is to go out, prune them, clip those blooms, make a bouquet, and then you'll get a whole nother flush of blooms in the late summer, early fall. And that is for us here in the South because we have such an extensive growing season. So we have got them all right there. They are gorgeous, and they're going to be fantastic. They're going to give me a nice backdrop to this bed. And then don't forget, because right here on this side of me, I have the phantom hydrangeas. So it's all going to blend beautifully together. Now, we're going to hop in the Kubota, drive around, and then we're going to get the rubies planted. So I made it down here to where we are going to plant the rubies. So if you remember, and yes, that's Brenna. There she goes. She was taking a nap. She had her vet visit this morning to get her her rabies shot. So she went to the vet this morning, had to go home and take a good nap. So now she is frisky and feeling fine. So we'll see how this goes planting with her. I digress. This is the bed that we planted this summer. We did it a couple of times. So we're here a couple of times. We have the limelights in the back, then in the front we have the Miss Violet butterfly bushes, and then we have the it's a blue cedar. I'll put the name up on the screen. I forgot what it is. So there's one here, and then down there on the other side of the Kubota is the other one. But right about where my finger is pointing, that is where we have a group of rubies. So to then mirror that, we're going to put the rubies right here. So it'll be great. The sun comes up straight in front of me, so they will get nice, good morning sun. It sets behind me there at the barn and the greenhouse, so they will get shade from all of these trees. They should be very happy. I am going to go ahead and use some land and sea on this because this bed where they are going has not been amended. So I will aug my holes with my power planter, aug the holes, biotone, plant them, land and sea around the top, put the mulch back, and then do a light pruning. But I'll show you all those steps. So I have decided where the 5 rubies are going to go, and I have pulled back the leaves and the mulch to expose my bare soil. I'm going to use my auger. Well, it's a Brenna. Come here. Down here. Yeah. It's a good thing that these hydrangeas bloom on new growth, because Brenna was just chewing on one of the limbs. Oh, bless her. So yeah, 4-month-old puppy, there you go. So we're gonna get these going. She's never seen the auger before, I don't think, in action, so it'll be interesting to see how she reacts to this. All 5 of the rubies are planted, and Ruby gets its name obviously from this gorgeous color. It is a fantastic, beautiful arborescence. Again, they bloom on new growth, so I'm going to prune this back by 1/3. Now, it might be kind of hard for you to see out in the camera because it's so camouflaged. Brenna enjoys them. So no. Thankfully, I have Jackson on the other end. You ready? Sit. Go get it. There we go. Just like a toddler, distractor. So we're just gonna come in here and just lightly prune this because it is a small plant and I do want it to grow. I want it to bloom. Brenna wants to have her moment in the spotlight. The leash is in the Kubota if we need to put her on her leash. So if you can come in where they're right above where there's 2 little buds, go ahead and you can do that. But you certainly don't have to be crazy precise on it. It's okay. Just give it a little trim, and then obviously try to make it even. So you're just gonna go through, trim them up. If you have any dead limbs in there, you know you have dead because when you bend it, it'll snap. If they're nice and pliable like this, where it's not snapping, that means it's alive. Also, when you cut it, and if you look, and if there's a little bit of green on the edge, it's alive. But if you do have some dead stuff in there, like this one, okay? So see, this right here, when I was doing it, it snaps. That's dead. So that means you can go back and trim it all the way back until you come to some new growth. Just go ahead and get that out. It's no big deal. You're gonna naturally have little parts of the hydrangea, the shrub, that's gonna die. It's a natural part. The plant, you're good to go. Don't overthink it. Just get it done. All right, 1 down, 4 to go. And then we'll be done with this whole project. The project for today is complete. I have got my 5 rubies relocated to their new home here on the creek bank, and you can see this is a different side. This is just a different angle of the bed. Our house, of course, is just right there, so we will be able to see these from our front porch, because you know how much we spend time on there in the fall, well, spring, summer, and fall rather, and so it'll be nice to see them. They are actually planted right on the other side of the evergreen. So yes, they are planted. They will be gorgeous there. The Limelight Primes are planted. I just was talking to Brenna and telling her how excited I am to have this project done, because this is one of those projects that I have known since the end of the summer that I needed to move these rubies. It was really clear that they were struggling. In fact, I was kind of afraid I might have lost some, but they are all healthy. They are small. I think they actually shrunk in size than when I planted them the first time. It's all right. You know what? You live and you learn, and that's gardening. If something is not thriving in an area, change it, right? Move its location, do something different. Don't just sit there and watch it die and struggle. Give the baby a new home and it will be just fine. Yeah, so that's basically it. Did I water anything in today? No, I did not. Why? Because again, it is the end of February here in North Carolina. We have gotten plenty of rain. We have clay soil. It holds the water. We have cool temperatures. It is going to rain for the next 2 or 3 days. I don't need to water anything. It would be giving them too much water. So I will just let them go. This bed is not currently on irrigation. Jerry did run some irrigation lines when he trenched with the fiber. Remember the fiasco? Well, not the fiasco, where he cut the main water line. That is basically right where he cut it. So we do have the option of putting water on this. Of course, things will thrive better if we do, but currently we do not. I will come back to this bed because we have talked about, I think, let me show you some. You can see part of the nursery back there. So these are limelights. You can see we have perennial ferns. This is their old foliage that needs to just be trimmed back. And then we have the Miss Violets. All of that needs to be cleaned up. All of that blooms on new growth, and so we need to come in here and get everybody trimmed up, cleaned up before they start to put on the new growth. I am thinking it's going to be an all hands on deck kind of situation where we're going to come and just get the hedge trimmer, and we're going to tackle it in one day and give everybody a good haircut that needs a haircut. But hope you have found this helpful. Hope you have found it entertaining at the least, and maybe you have learned something. As always, thanks so much for gardening with Creekside. Y'all have a fabulous day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.